everyone, it's Katie with One Music School, and today we're going to learn some tips and tricks that will help you master your bar chord. Don't forget to check out the description box below for my website. There you can set up a one-on-one Skype lesson with me. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button, follow me on my social media, and let's get started. Now, just a little disclaimer before I get into my 5 tips. Playing a bar chord is a process. For me, it did take me a while, but that's okay if it takes you a while. I have some students where they get it right away, and I have some students where it takes them a year. Just focus on where you are right now and don't focus on perfection, focus on improvement. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that I am a very petite woman. I am 5 feet tall and my hands are small. So if you say that you have small hands and it's really difficult for you to play a bar chord, I hear you. I know exactly where you're coming from, but don't let that stop you. Don't let anybody tell you because you have long fingers, short fingers, and your fingers almost fill the entire fretboard. I've seen people of all shapes and sizes learn a bar chord. I even have some students that are 8 years old that know how to play movable bar chords. They're amazing. But the number one thing that all of those students had in common that mastered the bar chord is that they worked at it. Something else that I'd like to say is that these are just my opinions. These are just things that I have found that have worked for me and for my students. If you have something else that is not in the list that is working for you, awesome. Leave it in the description box below because it not only helps me, it would also help my future students or somebody else that needs some help. All right, let's get into the list. Number 1, make sure you're rolling your finger onto its side. When you're playing a bar chord, try to roll your finger onto its side. If you only use the flat of your finger, you wind up wanting to bend your finger joints, and it's going to be harder for your other fingers to reach the other frets. Try this exercise to get used to rolling your finger. Clamp down on the fretboard and hold your finger there for 15 seconds. And then release for 10 seconds. And repeat this for at least 5 minutes. That's a great way to start to build your muscles, and you could do this with just the bar chord in general. Number 2, make sure your index finger is not placed too high. Now, what I mean by too high, I'm going to demonstrate this for you, is that I see some of my students place the neck of the fretboard at the base of their index finger. You'll notice that there's a significant part of my index finger that is not being used at the top, and that will make it even harder for my other fingers to reach where they need to go. So number 1, roll your finger onto its side. Bring your finger down so that your index finger and thumb form a clamp. Number 3, make sure your fingers are close to the frets. There are differences in opinion on this, but this has worked not only for me, but for many of my students as well. Bring your fingers as close to the frets as possible, but not on top. Then you won't have to push down as hard. If you hear some buzzing, play each string individually while holding the chord. Then you can find where the buzzing is coming from, and if you need to press harder, or if you need to move your finger closer to the fret. You also might be muting one of the frets with another finger. The buzzing also might be coming from one of your other fingers touching one of the frets, and so then you have to see if you need to use more of the tips of your fingers. Now, for a lot of you, playing the bar chord all by itself is not the problem. Problem happens when you try to play a bar chord in a chord progression and you can't get there fast enough, or it just doesn't sound quite right in the chord progression. So let's just look at this chord progression, for example. We have a B minor for 2 counts, 1, 2, A, 3, 4, G, 1, 2, D, 3, 4. Now let's say that this chord progression is just way too fast, or the chord changes just do not come easily to you. What you're going to do is you're going to take it 2 chords at a time. So the first ones are going to be the B minor to the A, and then I'm going to double everything. So instead of 2 counts for each chord, I'm going to play 4 counts for each chord. So just those 2 though, I'm not going to move on. So we have B minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 1, 2, 3, 4. That allows your brain just a little bit more think time while you're actually playing each chord, so that you're really thinking about the transition and where your fingers go, rather than thinking, oh no, here comes the next chord, and then you kind of hesitate when you play. After you've done that, you're going to either add the chord that is after that progression or maybe before that transition, so that you're really practicing that part that is difficult for you. After you've done that, what you're going to do is you're going to pare it down to the actual timing. So I've practiced my transitions over and over again on that B minor to the A. I think I'm ready to switch. Then I'm ready to try it in real time. I practice these kinds of transitions with my students every single day, and without a doubt, I do see improvement with them within minutes. Now, do they master it right away? Sometimes they do, and then sometimes they just need some time. And number 5, your action may be too tall. Now, what I mean by action is the distance between your strings and your fretboard. and depending upon the change of weather and heat and humidity, or maybe it just all of a sudden drops in temperature, gets really cold, that can cause the neck to bow and flex. But what it can do is that it can increase the distance between your strings and your fretboard, and then it's even harder to push down. If that happens, you can take it to a luthier or you can take it to a guitar tech and they can do something called a truss rod adjustment. I don't trust myself to do it because I just don't. So I take it to my trusty guitar tech Bob, but it's a really quick, easy fix. Now with the ukulele, it's a little different because most ukuleles do not have a truss rod. So something that can be done is 1, make sure that your instrument is properly hydrated or it stays out of extreme heat or extreme cold. 2, you could get the saddle adjusted. Sometimes that would help, sometimes it won't. But if you have a question about that, bring that into a luthier or even a guitar tech or a stringed instrument tech and they'll be able to see if they're able to fix it. So the last one may not even be player error, it may just be that the instrument is not properly set up. I really hope that helped you, and just remember playing is a process. Focus on your improvement and not on perfection. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.